Start again. Three, two, one, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Force podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. This is season 2, episode 12, and today we are going to be focusing more on the other nerd whimsies side of this podcast. We decided to talk about the last episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which would be episode 4, The Whole World is Watching, because we thought it was really good. But before we get into that, there's an anniversary that these two guys are celebrating because I didn't get to go. Goose?
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, I hadn't even realized the fact that it was the anniversary of this, but thanks to the Twitterdom and everyone that, is keeping track of these things for us, realized that it is indeed the second anniversary of Star Wars Celebration Chicago, which doesn't seem like it was that long. Thanks, COVID, for ruining everything and not letting us get together last year.
Nope.
Who knows how time works anymore? Like for me, yesterday, sometimes was a year ago. It's been insane. Star Wars Celebration Chicago, which was the second time for me going to a Star Wars convention after the first time in Orlando that we went, all of us together. The Triad.
I did go to that one.
It was the Triad, and then Chicago, which is my current town, so I didn't have to travel for it, which was fantastic. Saved me some monies there.
We saved also on getting a hotel or anything like that because I slept on the couch. It was a very comfortable one.
So it was great because we had 66.66666% of the Triad there. 33.333 decided not to go. It's fine. Maybe we can rectify that in Anaheim.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Although we did save that money on going and not having a hotel, I did think we paid the price socially a little bit because obviously we weren't there in the heart of nerddom and seeing all the other kids, have fun with their wars of the stars. But it was fantastic. It was a great experience, and obviously missing it dearly since we had it scheduled last year to go to Anaheim and then go to Galaxy's Edge and do all the fun things. But now we're hunkered down and still at home. But thankfully, at least personally, I'm gonna get vaccinated this week, so some normalcy is in the horizon. I think now you're vaccinated. Well, I don't know vaccinated. If you are yet.
Soon, 4/22.
Then we'll be. Nice. Then, we're almost there. But for more, we've already done an episode on Star Wars Celebration where we discussed all of our experiences in detail, which was our second episode, if I'm not mistaken, of our first season. What does the D stand for? One of the best episode titles ever, probably. So if you want to know more about that, please go and check that out. That was before we were on video on the YouTubes, but the audio is still available for you to listen on the YouTubes and anywhere you can receive your podcasts. But with that, I think we move ahead onto our other Disney property that is currently dominating the not only social media discourse, but the streaming services. Apparently, it's the most streamed show ever, so much beating out WandaVision and The Mandalorian.
Really?
Wow.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I'm surprised. I didn't think I guess
it was gonna.
Now in hindsight, I expected it, but I don't know. I wasn't as excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier as I was for WandaVision. So, which is why I think we hadn't done an episode on it yet, as opposed to WandaVision, where we did a couple episodes, 2 or 3, because we really like that show. But Falcon and Winter Soldier just seems so derivative of like all the Marvel superhero things we've already seen.
That they've already done.
Not that it's gonna be bad, but it's not gonna, not gonna give us anything that we haven't seen before. But I think last episode was particularly good in like establishing a little bit more of a real discourse in terms of like what comic book movies and media of this type can start giving us instead of just like pure entertainment and subtext. I think this episode was a lot about text. It wasn't subtext. It's like, here's the text, let's read it. And we felt that it was poignant enough to finally just do an episode where we can just discuss everything
Mhm.
so far, but particularly where we've left off with episode 4. So with that, well, Nani or Mo, take it, and give us your thoughts on the show so far as a whole.
Yeah. Well, obviously there's I think we've talked about it a little bit before. We haven't dedicated an episode to it, but we had talked about that they get so close to these social issues, but sometimes they just don't pull the trigger completely. They got a little bit closer with this episode with it. I actually really enjoyed that discourse at the beginning about supremacy that Zemo does. By the way, Zemo has become my favorite character. I mean, I always liked him from the beginning, but he was but he was kind of underused. And then this time you're getting
sweet dance moves too. Let's not forget his dance moves.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's become this like really, really good character who, you know, is supposed to be the bad guy, but he's turning out to be more of an anti-hero because in this episode, he's basically the only one that got anything done was Zemo. I mean,
like
and
the only one that got anything.
Yeah. And you can tell that he's not this like hypocritical kind of bad guy. Like he sticks to his guns. Like he hesitated nothing at all to destroy the super serum. He just saw it. He's like, I have no ulterior motives. I am destroying this thing. Yep. So that whole when he starts talking about supremacy, I thought it was super interesting that it's like just only wanting to become super soldier means you're going to end up a supremacist. Like you already have those ideals within you if that's what you're searching for. And I think it was very well explored with the character of, you know, fake Captain America now. What's his John Walker? And how he evolves throughout that.
Yes.
Oh my God, what an ass. Yeah. I mean, you have to give props to the actor because he really makes you just hate that guy just with like a look. It's like, you arrogant.
Kurt Russell's son, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son. I did not know that until
I did not know that. Yep. Wow. He's really good.
So in a way, with his also kind of meta because he's living in the shadow of Captain America. Just like he's kind of living in the shadow of his parents, but whatever. I don't think they meant that. That's just me,
but it works. It's a good point though.
But maybe that repressed like
with
the shadow of the parents. It's like,
That's intense.
Just brings the character to life. I mean, because it's one of those like characters that you just want to punch in the face, like
just constantly, all the time.
Like Jared Leto in real life, but this is just in a TV show. But going back a little bit to Zemo, I think it's the same thing Marvel has been doing since a couple movies ago, because one of the big criticisms that Marvel has always had with all of its movies until a couple of films ago was that all the villains were kind of generic and they were just like a carbon copy of the hero, just like, you know, just inverted, evil version, not really any good motivation and not someone you care about, especially because he was killed off and on to the next villain. And obviously with Thanos, with Killmonger, obviously now with Zemo, Marvel's kind of like starting. Right, Loki was the first one we actually didn't kill the first movie and kept going. But like all these heroes kind of start bringing back the morally dubious villain, because I think all those villains I mentioned, Thanos, Killmonger, and now Zemo in particular, are villains that aren't wrong. Their motivations are pure, and the things that they seek are actually, if you kind of think about it, they're right in what they want. And especially in Black Panther, when you see what even Black Panther realizes that by the end, it's like, oh yeah, you were right, and kind of we were wrong. So Zemo's kind of doing this in the show now, where it's just like he's in a way the voice of reason and the counterbalance to Falcon and Bucky, in that sense, where he's the one that wants to do the right thing, but maybe in the wrong way, or like have that point of view that might not be the 100% complete correct thing, but at least the thing that challenges the heroes in terms of like what their beliefs actually are, maybe more so than John Walker is doing for both Bucky and the Falcon, Sam. But I'm just worried that Marvel will just keep doing the same thing, where it's just like, oh, the villain that now is outshining kind of the hero, but because they're right, but then they have to be in the wrong somehow. I mean,
somehow. Yeah. And
it's
then
cool.
villainize him in another way.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool until you keep doing the same thing. I think for
Mhm.
now it's working though.
Mhm.
Simo obviously is. I like the retcon that they did before. He was just like a soccer dad with his kids, and lost his family in Sokovia. And now it's just like, nah, actually, I'm a baron and I have a private jet, and I wear
Yeah.
dope ass fur coats,
Yep.
and have like stashes of cars every. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
people complain it because nerds will fucking complain about anything. It's like, oh, but this is a wreck. Who cares? Is the
It's
story
awesome.
cool? Is the mask cool? Shut the fuck up. Let's enjoy
Yep.
this.
And he tricks children with Turkish delight, just like the witch from Narnia.
Hey, he didn't trick them, right?
It's a fair trade. I mean, but it's a good Simo, like this whole, it goes in line with the whole episode because the
Mhm.
whole episode was about giving like that viewpoint to those that are usually not represented in society,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and who other than kids who are treated as
Yep. The
nothing,
lesser.
the
Mhm.
lesser one, that they have nothing to
Mhm.
contribute, when in
Refugee
fact,
kids more so. Yeah.
refugee
Yeah.
kids more so, when in fact it, it was the wisest move, like Simo did. Like, treat them as equals. Like, okay, here's, I'm
Yeah.
giving you candy for just information. It's not like he's using them or anything. It's
Yeah.
like,
And not coming up
oh,
like the police, like Sam and Bucky did. Like they were coming in like, oh, we're invading you. You're the outsider. There's no way we're gonna tell you. But then Simo immediately is like, oh, here's some candy. This was my friend. Are you gonna tell me? And then even hints, these guys are bad guys. Don't
yeah,
listen to them.
don't listen to
Just
them.
promoting this like bonding between them. And he knew exactly how to do it. And then that makes you really sad because it's about the fact he was a father, and
Mhm.
when he says that Turkish delights were his son's favorite, I was like, well,
Mhm.
he's become a very compelling character in
Oh
my
yeah,
opinion. So mhm.
like,
I mean, he always
uh,
was,
it
but
was.
now that you get to see him in action for more,
Mhm.
it's I
Mhm.
think it's
Mhm.
been really well done. um And going back to what you were saying, Goose, about these villains, that they weren't wrong. And
Mhm.
here you see that Thanos wasn't necessarily wrong. I mean, all these people that have become refugees, or like one of them calls it internationally displaced persons, because
Mhm.
that's the problem. They're not seeking refuge for something. They have just been displaced from the
Mhm.
life that they found in those 5 years during the blip. And you can see that the planet came together, borders were eradicated, all these people were able to find jobs and families and everything.
Mhm.
And then they make such a big deal of bringing everybody back because we're seeing it from the side of the heroes, and those heroes are grieving because they lost family and everything, and you're rooting for them to bring everybody back. But now you're seeing the consequences of bringing everybody back, and it's affecting not just this refugees, but it's affecting Sam's family as well, who is finding himself now incredibly in debt, and going through horrible situations. So they weren't wrong. So it's really cool to see it from the other perspective, like from a certain point of view, who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. I mean,
Which could be, maybe that's what's, even though like, oh yeah, it's the same, that we thought like Marvel, like the same Marvel, but
mhm.
it's the same Marvel with more viewpoints
Yeah.
and more, so maybe it's actually directed to those, like the audience is meant to like recognize, oh wait, this is not my only viewpoint.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, like probably the biggest audience are, it's a US American uh viewership that hasn't been seeing this different type of viewpoints that are just haven't never been portrayed. So having
Mhm.
like the same template but with like extra layers, I think makes it like slightly interesting than
Yeah.
just like the regular movie, because you're
Mhm.
you're now layering everything. Like, even you're blurring the lines of like, oh, this, like, what's right, what's wrong. It's like, it's like, okay, what's the most important, like, beneficial cause, uh, which is, and then it touches on a lot of like the weak points of our society.
Mhm.
Like, it goes hand, like, I think, like, that's what I liked also, like, about the whole show, this episode,
Mhm.
that it just kept like layering itself.
Mhm.
Like it was like deeper and deeper, and it's like, okay, I kind of want to see where this is going. And then
Yeah,
you have
because
Yeah.
you start. Sorry, I interrupted.
no, no, go for it. I was just gonna add like one little thing.
Mhm. No, that I love the layer thing because they start with like the supremacist thing about the super soldiers, and then you get
Mhm.
the whole when Carly's talking to one of her subordinates, and the subordinate being like, I never thought I would see another Captain America till you. Somebody that looks different, somebody that knows our pain. And that gets
Mhm.
repeated again when Carly has the conversation with Sarah, Sam's sister, and she says that she didn't choose Captain America. Like,
Mhm.
America doesn't represent me right now. America doesn't
Mhm. Mhm.
understand my world. Why
Why
would
would
I
it be
support
like
their mascot? Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
think back, and even Captain America, Steve Rogers, originally, he was just supposed to be propaganda.
Mhm.
And it's, put the white man there, give him superpowers, and
Mhm.
that's your hero, and that's what it's supposed to look like. And it's the same that they did with Superman, and it's like
Mhm.
the superheroes always looking exactly the same. And this episode starts to talk about, why do the superheroes always look the same? Especially when the one that actually received the shield was Sam, but
Mhm. Mhm.
he didn't find himself worthy himself. Even though Steve found him
Mhm.
worthy, he didn't think he was worthy, and he gave
Yeah.
it back. So I love that exploration of why do superheroes always look the same?
I
and
mean, and it. Sorry, what are you saying?
no, 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 go for it.
Uh, I was just because I mean to tie into what both of you were saying. I think one of the to start with what you were saying, Mo. I think it's very interesting how the show is framing those things that we've all been talking, and especially watching it after Justice League in particular, because it's a completely different way of framing superheroes. The way Zack Snyder was doing in that movie versus what Marvel is doing with Falcon and Winter Soldier, where Justice League, and I think DC as a whole tends to do this. It's like the mythification and the putting the hero in this godlike position where they're like the new gods, the Greek gods, the Roman like the gods of modernity, right? And they're like above humanity. I mean, and I think some of the Justice League animated films, like they're the Hall of Justice is in space and everything, so they're literally
Yeah,
above
it is.
the
Yeah.
world, saving the world, but detached from it. And you can see that a lot in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's just like they're fighting for the world, but they're you don't see them among the world, so their problems are bigger than us, right? The little people, so to
The
speak.
plebe.
Which is exactly the plebes. Which is one way of framing it, right? Not that it's wrong, but it's a different discourse, right? That we're talking about
Mhm.
when we talk about it that way. And Marvel, in a way, with the TV shows in particular, I mean, with the movies too, like the movies try to keep that human aspect of them alive, especially by not having their identities be secret, by them having like
Yeah.
exposed identities. They're already interacting with their society, and you see the consequences of their actions in those societies in kind of a
Mhm.
more direct way that not
Yeah.
only humanizes them, but you can start making more poignant and direct comparisons to any real world discussions we might be having, which I think is an important thing that film and media should do in general, period. But with the shows in particular, One Division and now Falcon and Winter Soldier, we kind of get even more intimate. It's like we keep moving down the strata of like the Justice League, space and dark side. Marvel movies is like, Earth fights with uh,
Mhm.
alien armies, but in New York. And now with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like, okay, now in the street. So it's
Yeah.
like you kind of go down these scales and you relate to the show in a different way. And especially this one, because it's so, like I was saying in the beginning, there's no subtext. It's like direct text, which like goes
Yeah.
back into what you were saying, Nani, which is how do we relate with these heroes that we've always
Mhm.
seen in movies, as kind of literally in movies, right? We've seen it in a giant fucking movie screen where there's like I don't
Yeah.
know how many feet tall and like tower over us, and now we're watching them on the TV. They're right there in our living rooms with us, and we see them have our problems all of a sudden, and see that they're
Mhm.
going through different things, and that not only makes us empathize with them. At least personally, I empathize with them more by seeing them in my living room going through their things as I'm going through things. But then
Mhm.
kind of the things that they're going through, right? Bucky's going through his PTSD
Mhm.
from war and being brainwashed, and then Sam, is going through a lot of issues that African
Yeah.
Americans go through every day, and just because he's a hero doesn't mean that he's exempt from it. And to
Yeah.
that point, I'm gonna kind of do an aside and just say like fuck all these little fanboys that don't like media representing other people other than what they see in the mirror. It's like, hey, you've had your chance. This isn't being woke.
Yeah.
This is just like
Yeah.
representation, and it
Yeah.
matters because as the show was saying now, it's like, what do heroes look like for other people that aren't cis white males?
Mhm.
And I think that's the important thing that the show is doing. I think that's why Seymour is compelling, because he is a cis white male, but he,
He
is
still sees the
he's
wrongness in
aware
it.
and is
Yeah.
able to see what's wrong with it. And methods, maybe not the best, but at least he sees, and we get to see that perspective. And but how satisfying was it to see the Dora Milaje just fucking kick
Oh my God.
fake
That was
fake
just
Captain America's ass?
just like Mo was saying, like this guy, you just want to punch in the face every time he's on. And then when they show up and this dude is so condescending, he just like pats her like, oh, I'm here to calm you down. And then they just kick his ass. Just first of all, that fight scene was choreographed amazingly. It's beautiful to watch.
Ooh.
I love that they're not doing the shaky cam that, sometimes
Yes.
Marvel
And
does.
they
It
brought
was
the music from Black Panther into it, like,
yeah, it was so good. And then I love how at the beginning, like Bucky and Sam aren't even interfering. They're like standing back. It's like, dude, you had this coming. You don't talk to these women like this. I mean, who do you think you are? Just because you have the title of Captain America doesn't mean you stand in his shoes. Like,
yeah.
you
But I think the
just-
important part about that wasn't just that and what they said was John Walker's attitude. Was it John Walker? I always forget his name. So every time I say John Walker, I think of Black Label. I'm like, that can't be right. But we were saying that he was condescending, but it was
Yeah.
particularly telling, and obviously, again, text, not subtext, text.
yeah,
Captain America telling,
Yeah.
these African ladies, like, hey,
Yeah.
you don't have jurisdiction here. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, but
we have jurisdiction wherever we are. And where do you get your jurisdiction from?
but
Because you're
but
Captain America.
America always thinks
World
they
police.
have jurisdiction and gets anywhere and do whatever they can. But then when someone else that doesn't look like them does it, there's a problem. And it's like, oh, okay, I see what you
World
did
police.
there, Marvel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then he gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah, like destroyed, completely destroyed. I mean, even at the end, he's just like, and they weren't even super soldiers.
Mhm.
Like, my ass destroyed. And then, I mean, they took the shield from him. They could have totally kept it. It's vibranium. They could have been like, this belongs to us now. You haven't earned this. It was really easy for me to take this from you.
Mhm.
The other thing that was actually really surprising is that they can take off Bucky's arm. That was, I know. And there's a lesson there too. It's like, don't be too over reliant on your, toys or your gadgets or anything. Cause as soon as he lost his arm, he was just like so shocked by it that he couldn't really do anything else.
Like,
so
I'm a sitting duck here. Well, I guess he knew
Yeah.
he was gonna every fight.
yeah, he was just like,
ass beaten. So it's like,
I know. I know. But I think it also calls into question that arrogance of, you're an Avenger, but it doesn't mean you're indestructible as well.
Mhm.
So I think it's good, pointing these flaws in your superheroes as well. So, but that fight was amazing though. It was so good.
yeah. And then again, it's another layer of like
Mhm.
the female versus the males. Like
Mhm.
it was literally 3 females versus like 4 males, and then like being like
Working together.
working together. Yeah.
Yeah.
While each one was like beating their ass by themselves.
Well,
And
yeah,
then-
but they were part of the team where like all the guys were kind of doing
All over the
individual-
place.
They all had
Yeah.
individual goals, right? So
Yeah.
they weren't
Yeah.
fighting with a common goal in mind.
Yeah. And then Simo, genius that he is, pulls on El Chapo.
Yeah, and I like that they actually said that. It's
I
like,
know.
Marvel, you can't pull these references because then I'll have questions. Like, wait, this is real world.
Yeah.
But, so that means it's a real chapel. Does that mean that
Yeah.
too many consequences, Marvel? You get not do that. 'Cause otherwise, I'll just get confused.
Yeah. But it keeps
I'm glad
it's
you did
another
that.
huh?
Because
That he just
now,
escapes.
Well, because now you have like Ayo like going after. Like I want to see
Yeah.
like Ayo like confronting Simo, which is interesting. A and C. They're getting together. Maybe there's something into that.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I mean,
Coincidence?
Simo,
Conspiracy? Who knows? It's like QAnon thing
Simo.
right now. It's like, oh,
Oh wow, yeah.
hey,
That documentary is amazing on HBO, by the
no,
way.
no, I stopped. I couldn't watch beyond the first episode. I was like, oh, fuck this shit. I can't. It was like, I remember the only time I've ever felt like that watching a documentary was like maybe in high school. I was watching a documentary on the History Channel back when the History Channel was about history. And it was documentary
not
about
about aliens.
white exactly. It was about white supremacists and neo-Nazis in America. Like I could not see the whole thing. I'm like, this is too fucked up. Fuck it. This is
Yeah, the
can't be
QAnon
real.
one is really
Yeah.
screwed up. It's so screwed up.
Well,
Anyway, we're off topic.
This.
Oh my god.
Well, John Walker's, John Walker.
Oh, John Walker. John
Come
Walker
on.
is a perfect example of that guy that is just becoming a complete supremacist. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that guy just
Because the ends
flipped
justify
a
the means. Yep.
switch. Yeah, I mean it's also continues the conversation about supremacy and when Sam told Carly that they were thinking that she's a supremacist.
Mhm.
I mean, her reevaluation of herself, like he almost had her like
Mhm,
in
mhm.
that conversation right there, like making her reevaluate what she's becoming. And she was already thinking about it because she'd already recovered more serum and she was expecting to expand her army. So she was already on that path, is already on that path, obviously, because John Walker came in and fucked everything up and, interrupted Sam. And now she doesn't trust anybody. But it's that conversation of, superpowers. Are superpowers, the answer?
Mhm.
But you don't, because why you make superheroes, you're always going to get super villains. Like everything's going to escalate. I mean, even I think it's Alfred that says it to Bruce in Dark Knight, that it's like, what did you expect to happen? You crossed the line first when you became Batman.
Yeah.
Did you expect the
Or-
bad guys to not retaliate or escalate or depend on somebody as insane as Joker? It's going to happen. You get you get
Vision-
superheroes.
Vision says it in either Civil War or Age of Ultron. I forgot what movie, but Vision also says that that their very strength and power invites the challenge.
Yeah.
It's just like it's an interesting thing about like what does, and it's a Spider-Man thing, right? Power requires responsibility, and like that power will be matched, and like what do you do when that power is matched? Yeah.
Yeah, and so far with the super serum, the results have always been negative, except for Steve Rogers, who was never actually corrupted, and now you have Bucky, who was, because he was completely used as a weapon of war, but he was, brainwashed to do it, and now he's having to deal with all that backlash of it, and somehow he is, slowly coming out of that. But I mean, he was used as a massive weapon of war for decades.
Well, it's what Dr. Eskrin said in Captain America: First Avenger, right? The serum is like you have good, and you put and you get better out, and you have bad, and you get worse. So it's all about the character of the person inside. As we saw, obviously, with Captain America versus Red Skull, and now like OG Steve Rogers Captain America versus douchebag McQuack John Walker Captain America.
Well, and the sad thing is that he actually has the conversation with his friend, with Lamar, about, power and the serum. And the friend says it too. I mean, power, makes people more of themselves. But John Walker himself admitted that they had made very questionable decisions during the war.
Which is, I thought that was a good layer to add, like how in our society, you have like all these medals out of war.
Yeah.
But what did it imply? It implied the death of probably other people. Like it implied trauma. It implied your friends losing their family. It implies a lot of things. And then we celebrate that as like, oh, that's an achievement.
You're a hero. Yeah.
You're a hero. And then it's like that same logic. Like it skewed his reasoning. It was like, well, that means then I'm right, because if my society is like giving me
Empowering
for all of this, then that means my behavior is the right one to follow. And you can see that like on all like that's it. I mean, I don't know if there was like if this wasn't pointed out, in the episode, but it's a very, but you can see it in the difference between like Carly and like fake America. Like
Yeah.
Carly second questioned herself during like that conversation with Sam, while John Walker pretty much just bias confirmed himself
Mhm.
into like,
Mhm.
okay, then I'll take it because that means I'm right. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
if everybody around me has always told me you're right,
Confirmation bias. Yeah.
that's confirmation bias.
Yeah.
But to that point, I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
To that point.
Yep. What the fuck was I gonna say? Oh, now I remember. But I think it's an interesting way to see where Carly and fake Captain America come from, because both are in militant groups, but both come from different structures of military groups, right? One is like the structure of the American military and American government, and the other one is kind of militia-esque, and they both have different ways of operating. Where fake Captain America is following orders because that's what he does, and he's a soldier, which obviously puts him at odds with Steve Rogers, because Steve Rogers in Winter Soldier was going against his government because the government was doing sketchy fucking things. So let's not do those things. This fake Captain America is like, oh, no, I mean, I won my medals, 3 medals of honor. This thing, I have to live up to this mantle. I will, and I'm a soldier. I do what I'm told. He does it without question, which is sketchy to begin with. Where, on the other hand, what are the quote unquote villains of this show fighting for? They're not fighting for a system. They're not fighting to protect the government. They're kind of fighting to protect the way of life, and it's a pure type of fight in that way. And even she says that at some point, right? And it's like a trope, right, that we see in lots of movies like V for Vendetta or whatever, where it's like one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So in this case, it's one of those conversations where it's like, what does, like, who's, it's not necessarily about who's right, but it's like whose means to achieve something are the ones that, you know, will get the best result, because no one is absolutely right or wrong in this show except maybe Sam. I think Sam might be the one paragon here of kind of thinking the right thing and having the correct method of doing things. But I mean, Simo, Carly, Bucky, they're all working out through their things, and they both have reasonably pure intentions and definitely different ways of approaching them. The only one person that's absolutely wrong here is fake Captain America. And if there was
just
one,
an ass,
because he's just a white douchebag. And if there's one way to frame it, and like, this guy is a major asshole. It's just, he's not Captain America, he's a major asshole. It's just like the ending of that fucking episode with his holy shit moment. It's like Steve's moment in Civil War when he like smashes the shield on Iron Man's reactor, but way different.
We'll get to that final scene.
How the hell did Disney approve that? That's all I'm gonna say.
That was aggressive. And I don't. Do you want to do that final scene right now?
Sure.
Okay. Well, leading up to that final fight was again a fantastic fight. I mean, the episode was like really well done in that it broached better subjects, but at the same time, the action was fantastic. It kept you engaged the whole time. And then that final fight, when you first see like fake Captain America and Falcon like approaching the fight together, side by side, it's just like, oh, that's so weird watching him be next to this like fake just asshole. And you could tell like he started getting really twitchy, and I was like, oh, this guy did the super serum. He's all twitchy as fuck. And Hosbando was just like, no, he's just twitchy because he's a dick. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure he actually
both. It's not either or.
Well, anyway, I called it right away. I was like, they're gonna kill his friend, and he's gonna go batshit crazy, and this is what's gonna happen. And then obviously it happens. But the way it's framed, really, I was like, as soon as the fighting started, I was like, this is what's gonna happen. This is it. And then the awesome thing is like when it actually happens, and then Carly and them see his reaction and like run, just run.
Mhm.
And
This guy's gonna go
he
for
has
the
that scene. Oh yeah. They have that scene where he jumps out of the window and does the superhero landing. And I think that's the first time that he actually
Yeah.
looks like Captain America ever. And then seconds
Mhm.
later, he destroys everything that Captain America stood for in that one
Mhm.
scene. And, you know, not only when he destroys the dude, but then
Mhm.
standing up and that shot from like the bottom with the shield dripping
Yeah.
blood was just wow.
It's like
Well, it was amazing.
Mhm,
I mean, not in terms of like what he did, but in terms of like
mhm,
how the show was framing it, because
mhm.
it's obviously a reference to Civil War, and that scene
Oh
when
yeah, yeah,
Steve is beating the shit out of Tony,
yeah. Mhm,
and it's framed, I think, the same way on purpose because both scenes end in opposite ways. Like Steve one, when he smashes the shield down, he doesn't obviously spoiler alert everybody. He
Yes.
doesn't kill Iron Man.
Yeah.
That happens after. But stops himself from reacting in aggression because he was kind of going ballistic on
Yeah,
Tony
he
the
was.
same
Yeah.
way that fake Captain America was doing. Like, forgot the character's name, but at the end of episode
Mhm,
4. So they're both having that same visceral reaction of anger and aggression towards
mhm,
one specific person, but where Steve pulls himself back, doesn't do a
mhm,
killing blow. He actually acknowledges that his reaction was wrong. And what does he do? He
mhm.
steps back and drops the shield and walks away and kind of leaves the mantle of Captain America behind
Yeah.
and becomes Nomad, right? Where fake Captain America's fucking is it's like where uh, one was eventually ends up being baptized in water, right? Captain America, and blossoming to be like the hero we need when he
Yeah.
becomes worthy of Mjolnir and Endgame.
Yeah.
Captain America's kind of baptized in
In
hellfire,
blood.
and instead of like dropping the shield because he's unworthy, he like embraced, like, it's like it
Yeah.
was like bleeding a kyber crystal and turning it red type of shit. He
Yep.
literally bathed the shield in blood and just
Mhm.
embraced like became this evil Captain America persona. And I think
Yeah.
Nani, what you were saying is very poignant because exactly the camera's like looking below, like this,
Yeah.
imposing dark
Yeah.
figure standing over his victims, literally. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like
It was
pretty terrifying
perfectly
way to
shot.
frame
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
But
then,
he's even in shadow,
obviously,
so he's dark. Oof, oof.
yeah. And then, with the world watching,
Mhm.
title drop of the episode. But it's this because you had seen before that even though, he's fake Captain America, just the title itself lends itself to admiration and everything. Like people were going up to
Mhm.
him to get autographs. And then suddenly in this scene, you see everybody's face is just like shock and horror, and nobody knows what to do with themselves. I mean, this is supposed to be Captain America. It's supposed to be a
Mhm.
hero. What do we do now? I mean, and I wonder how they're going to start the next episode. But that was a fantastic way to frame that. And I think it's also an important metaphor of the United States in general, because
Mhm.
I think the United States, especially during the era of Trump, has become the bad guy.
I mean,
And
let's be real legit here. It was
they
before
have
Trump.
been for a while. Yeah.
America has not been viewed
No,
favorably by many a
no.
country that's not America.
Oh, I know. And I completely agree. But I think it became even more visceral, I think, during the Trump era, because the whole like wanting to close the borders actively and, hating on everybody that's different, just,
Mhm.
more visually and just loudly, I guess.
Mhm.
And then seeing this image of Captain America, before it was the hero, and now it's just like this monster in like a second,
Mhm.
it's, I think it was framed really well. And especially
Yeah.
because, it is a show produced by the United States. So, that they're kind of,
Mhm.
introspecting a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. But to that point, it's something that I was going to
Mhm.
mention before. It's like, well, I do appreciate like this framing that like Marvel has done with the show so far, specifically and particularly with this episode. I still feel, and I mean, who knows how the next, I mean, because we're at the half point, so we only have 4 episodes left. So who knows where we'll go with it.
No, we
But
only have like 2 episodes left. It's 6.
it's 6. I thought it was 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's 6.
It's even worse. But
I know. I don't know how they're gonna conclude this.
the point in being is like this episode. I think it was like this, the second episode. I think is when Sam and Bucky go to see Isaiah, down his house, and we had like the whole kind of racial profiling thing where the police are gonna arrest Sam,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
Marvel's doing this. It's like, where's this gonna go? And then it goes
Yeah.
absolutely nowhere.
But then, yep.
It's like that's why I'm a little hesitant about where this is going, because Marvel has that track record. It's just like, hey, look, we're gonna
They get
we're gonna
almost
talk
there.
about real shit.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
Mhm.
just kidding. It's fine.
Never mind.
Don't think about this too hard. This is Disney. So the fact that the show ended with the Captain America's shield in
I know.
blood and
In
gore is like,
blood.
oh, okay.
Oh
Maybe,
shit. Yeah.
maybe this time we'll say something.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope they finally
That
bring
they
it.
yeah. That they talk about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, it'll be interesting if they bring like because like they gave a lot of shit to Wanda because of like her portrayal of what happened in Wakanda. Let's see if they give a lot of shit to fake Captain America for intent like going on a berserker rage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that gonna affect them? Like
how they're gonna spin it, what they're gonna do. Yep. It's interesting.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see where it goes and see the repercussions of it moving forward, because obviously with fake Captain America and Zemo and Carly and all these things, like only so many things can be wrapped up. Obviously, like WandaVision, some things will be left to, hey, we're gonna explore this in the future, synergy. So looking forward to see what things they wrap up and how to kind of,
especially
we don't know if there's going to be a season 2.
No, we don't know. And you also have the huge like question mark on Sharon, who has been like, showing up randomly a little bit, but I mean, you know, something's going on, but you don't know exactly what it is. And you know, you have the power broker too. It's like, it seems there's a lot of threads still to tie together. And if they only have 2 episodes, I mean, I don't know how they're gonna do this, but I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
And now you have Carly, who, you know, she already lost another soldier. She lost all the serum that she had. The power broker's hunting her. She herself was
Captain America.
Berserker Captain America. She was escalating herself. I mean, I think one of the things that was just a really bad idea on her part was to threaten Sam's family. It's like, dude, this guy from the beginning said he saw something good in you, and he's the only one who's trying to like see your perspective, and then you threaten his family the first chance you get. That was just low.
But I'm calling it now. She will go up to his family. There's gonna be a situation where his family is like directly physically being threatened by her, and they have the showdown of talking reason to her.
To Carly.
It's a setup. I hope. I mean, I'm not hoping, because if it is, it's kind of predictable. But it seems like that's how it's gonna be framed, and that's how she's gonna, come back to quote unquote the light, like Sam doing his, finish the job, right? That he couldn't finish because Captain America fucked it up. Like do that at that moment. Maybe I've always been wrong with my theories, so maybe that will happen. But
well, I mean, Sam does think that, I mean, she's in the right. Like the fight needs to happen. She's doing it the wrong way, and she's clearly escalating, because that last time she blew up that building, I mean, there were still people inside and people died. And I think they say on the radio once that one of the guys had just started working there like 2 weeks earlier or something, so he wasn't necessarily, responsible for everything that was happening. So clearly she was on this path to escalation, and now she's on the run, and people on the run and desperate become even more dangerous. So so I guess we'll see. But
we will
have to see. So.
But it was a good explanation on that, and even fake Captain America, as incredibly annoying as he is, he went into it with good intentions originally. I mean,
ish. I think,
but still, it got so twisted around. Yeah.
I mean, I think his good intentions were just to kind of be the best, and an aspiration to be as influential and inspiring as Steve Rogers was, but not because he wanted to be. I don't know. I don't know how to even explain it, because not to
That
say
it
that
was
he
for
wasn't want to be a force.
self-satisfaction.
Exactly. Like I don't
Yeah.
know that he genuinely wanted to be it in the sense that like I want to be a force for
Mhm.
good, like he was, as opposed to I want to be as good as he was, so that
Yeah.
I can be at that level, type of thing,
Yeah.
which kind of poisons the
The intentions, yeah.
the intentions and the
Mhm.
shield, so to speak.
Yeah.
Quite
Because it
literally,
did-
it poisoned the shield.
It,
at
yep,
that point.
stained it in blood. So yeah, so I think it was like all self-satisfaction, because he says it to his friend when they have the conversation. It's like,
Mhm.
I knew we were, heroes and everything, but a lot of things felt wrong. And now being Captain America is the first thing that feels right. And it's just because you live under that shadow of Captain America means I'm a hero.
Mhm.
But you still have to be worthy of the title. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't think. I mean, maybe that's the point. He's just gonna prove himself unworthy of the title.
Yeah, well, he'll be so unworthy that Mjolnir's gonna fly from wherever it is, just smack him.
And just
Really opposite of worthy. I was gonna hit you and just come back to. Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
that'll be great.
oh man, that would actually be hilarious.
It'll just be a
Or,
cameo.
or,
just
or,
bam.
or like
And just
Thor
go back.
comes and like just burns him. Oh, sorry, I missed.
Unworthy. Yeah.
Unworthy. Oh my god. And that look of just rage and insanity when he's doing this attack. Oh, he just, yeah, not good. Not good. And
Mhm.
now we have another super soldier with the vibranium shield who's insane.
Yep.
Not the best one though.
Oof. Well, it's gonna be interesting. I think that's a pretty good recap of the episode. I don't know if you guys want to talk about anything else before we
No,
sign
I
off.
think personally, I think we hit all the big points there.
Yeah. I hope they pull the trigger and wrap every thread online they've been like getting together.
Hmm.
Hopefully Disney will deliver, but who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? Yeah, and continue this what they just started with. Representation matters, and it matters what your heroes look like, and it matters how America itself represents itself. Which, by the way, it's the USA, because America includes North America, Central America, South America, and all the islands in between. Just in case you guys don't know.
Word to the wise. Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, and how he's representing that by being just a hate monger that uses the shield. Who the whole point of the shield is that it's a defensive weapon. Yeah, he throws it and everything, but it's supposed to be like I shield, and he used it to just smash the shit. Not even
Straight up murder.
yeah, no, and not just like bashing it with the other end and just like, oops, I hit too hard. No, it's using the sharp edge purposely. So turning a defensive weapon into an attack weapon. Yeah. So
I wouldn't want to see that, buddy. Whatever happened to.
oh man, that I bet there's oof. I bet it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. So anything else? Or I think we're done. Well, looking forward how they wrap up the show. And then obviously, as always, we'll eventually get back to talking to Star Wars, as we always do. We are Triad of the Force. Thank you for listening and watching. Remember to follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. And we have awesome shirts on, what is it? The shirts? Okay. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired.
TeePublic, yes, search Triad of the Force. You'll find us. We have a link tree on our Twitter, so just look it up. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And comment.
We're at 119 subs, so just like one more, we get 120. It's a nice round number.
Yeah. And yeah, and comment and let us know what you guys want us to talk about. And I think with that, we're done, right?
We love you all. Peace.
May the Force be with you.